4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey, and as you can tell, Snooks is not here. Actually, in a way, she's here, but she's not here. You don't see her on camera. She's upstairs right now, and she's studying. As many of you know that have been listening to the podcast, she's in the middle, or actually at the very tail end, of getting her Master's of Social Work, so her MSW. And she's in an internship. She's doing a lot of different things and can't be solely focused on Married into Crazy. Now, she's present when we do the majority of our podcast, and she's also always present when it comes to our clients and sitting down with other couples. But this is an opportunity where I wanted to still get something out to where we can talk about what it means to stand in the gap. Now, before I go any further, I want to remind everybody that you can see all the different things that we do for married couples at marriedintocrazy.com. Go there and you'll see the podcast episodes. You'll see Raise the Bar. It's a on-demand video series that helps it helps people actually work through some of their challenges or different things or fine-tuning. It's almost like going in, taking your car in for a tune-up. Same thing with Raise the Bar. And so you can access all of that on the website as well as the store. So you can get a hat like this or a variety of other things. So we've been around since 2018, podcasting and working with other couples in a variety of different ways. And it's always been Snooks and I side by side for the majority of the time. Every now and then, though, you're going to find that something happens. Schedules change. There may be trauma. There may be work. There may be a variety of different things, illness, what have you, that can pull you in different directions. And one of you is going to have to stand in the gap for the other. And it's an important concept. I know we talk about how relationships are supposed to be 50-50. Snooks and I always say, no, that's not the case. It's 100-100. You're giving the best that you possibly can. The other person's giving the best they possibly can. But if you're looking at this from a rubric standpoint or how it's really truly measuring up, you're going to find that a lot of times that somebody's 100% isn't quite helping or filling the gap because their tank is empty or their cup isn't as full as it normally is. In tonight's case, Snooks isn't here. She's giving 100%, but in a different way. She's focused on something that the entire family is committed to. And so when that happens, we had two choices. Either A, we could go another week without having a podcast, or B, I could take this opportunity to talk about what it means to really stand in for the other, to stand in the gap. You're going to see me glance down from time to time because I wrote a bunch of notes on this whiteboard, and I want to make sure I hit some of these things that Snooks and I talked about that we thought was very valid for us to have a discussion about, right? So one of the things is acknowledging that the relationship is a partnership. There's always going to be somebody that's leading and somebody that's following. And it has nothing to do with gender. We've talked about that in the past. It has everything to do with who has the capacity to lead in that moment. And it might be finances. It might be disciplining the children. It might be an education if you're homeschooling. It might not have anything to do with kids at all. It might be, the intimacy part of it, where somebody takes the lead in initiating. It's not always going to be the same person, or shouldn't always be the same person initiating. There's going to be times where somebody's libido is lower than the other, or somebody is just stressed out to the point where they just can't think of it, and they love you and they want to accommodate or they want to participate, but it didn't really strike them to be the one to initiate. So the other person steps up. There's an ebb and flow, right? It's like the tide goes in, the tide goes out. And we as individuals have to be prepared to be that person that shores up wherever the gap may be. And it's going to show up when one person's taking on more responsibility than the other. Now, as time goes on, you're going to find that things are going to happen. Someone's going to get sick. I'll give you an example. Several weeks ago, I had to travel quite a bit. I was on the road, and this is still while Snooks is going to school. She has her internship. She has patients that she has to actually, or I should say clients, that she needs to actually meet with and counsel 3 days a week. She goes straight from her day job over to the clinic where she actually does her internship, and she's meeting with her clients there on behalf of the clinic. And she's got a pretty decent caseload. And so she's doing that on top of the fact that I wasn't here. Now, our daughters helped out, but Snooks really felt like she was a single parent when I was traveling for work. And there's times where when she's doing all of that, that I'm picking up, I won't call it slack, but I'm standing in the gap when it comes to cooking and cleaning and doing some of the other things that Snooks has always done over the years. And it's not that one person should be doing it consistently, but some people do things better than others. Look, guarantee that everybody in this house likes her food much more so than the spaghetti that I'll do now. I may grill a few things here and there, but there's always going to be an opportunity for one of us to step up in place of the other. So I know this is going to be a short podcast, but one of the things to consider is that when you do that, what are the benefits? Meaning, when you stand in the gap, what are the benefits? The chief benefit is that the other spouse knows, and if they don't know, they learn that they can trust you. They learn that it's okay for them to do something else or their attention to be diverted elsewhere. And they have the absolute faith in you in making sure that the walls don't crumble and the house comes tumbling down. It's that faith, it's that trust, it's that opportunity to know that it's going to help you really foster some empathy as well, right? Knowing that, okay, I know what it's like to put on her shoes and deal with Isaiah when he's having a meltdown, or our daughters when they're having a disagreement and they're going at each other. I know that there's opportunity in these situations to learn, right? But also to gain empathy for what the other person goes through. And I think that goes a long way for when times are fantastic, when everybody's schedule is cleared up and we're able to do the things. But I think you have a greater appreciation for the person that's supposed to be sitting next to you or standing next to you, right? And I think that the other person gains a sense of empathy as well, because then they recognize that, you know what, this is what I like. And the tables have turned in the past. When I was going to school early in our marriage, it was Snooks that was really holding up the house when I was having the late nights and the study sessions and all those things that were going on. Everything that you go through, regardless of whether or not it's a positive thing, it's a negative thing, everything we go through is an opportunity to learn. And in this relationship, if you really are in this for the long haul, if you're standing in the gap for your spouse, it's an opportunity to learn that, you know what, I'm doing this. And you're not keeping score. You're not saying, okay, well, I stood in the gap for you this time, and now it's your turn to stand in the gap for me. That's not how it works. You just do what's needed. You get in where you fit in, and you do what's absolutely needed for your family. And the emotional support that you're able to provide goes a very long way. Because look, there's such a thing as FOMO when it comes to these situations as well. Even though she's upstairs, I know that she has a fear of missing out. She likes being on camera, on the mic with me and pouring into other couples. So there's this sense of, man, I'm missing out on having the opportunity to fulfill our calling. But she knows that she's needed to be doing something else and writing her paper and doing her studying to achieve a personal goal that kind of moves the entire family forward. The more that she's able to do, or the more that your spouse is able to do, it's probably something that's going to really be for the betterment of the entire family, right? So there's that emotional support that you're providing for that individual. And you have to let them know that, hey, I get it. Don't feel guilty. Be focused. Do the things. I don't mind standing in the gap because you do it for me so often. And recognize that it is done for you as well, right? And you have to occasionally take on more tasks. That's okay. So what if I have to make sure, I'm the one giving him a shower and so forth, rather than splitting the duties? or, feeding him, or getting him up in the morning because she was up so late studying that I need to be the one to get him up in the morning. Our daughters do help out. So, right, it doesn't just follow me, and I'm not trying to create a martyrdom in any way because it goes both ways. If you look through I was going to say the lexicon, but if you look through the history in the library of our podcast, if you really take a look, there's 2 or 3 times where Snooks has actually had to do the podcast by herself as well because I was overwhelmed and doing something else and just couldn't make time or create time to be able to be in front of the camera with her. So, again, this is going to be a short one, but I think that you need to really give some thought. We all do, and acknowledge that there are going to be times where we have to willingly stand the gap and not be resentful. We can't sit here and do it begrudgingly and think like, I got to do this, and you're supposed to be here for me. But that's not the way it goes. Again, the word partnership keeps coming to mind. It's something we do together. And sometimes it's something that we do by leading and knowing that we break the wind, acting as a windbreaker, if you will, for the headwinds of life that are coming at us. And this is one of those moments where I'm standing out front and the wind is coming, but I'm breaking it and she's drafting off of me. Trust me, there have been plenty of times in our relationship where I've had to draft off of her. When I was in recovery from getting stabbed, Snooks led everything because she cared for me. She cared for our son. She cared for our daughter. And she knew that I had to actually be, in a place of healing and to go through that. And in these moments, it helps you build that trust when you go through something truly traumatic and you need to lean on each other at the same time. No one's truly taking the lead, but you're walking side by side. And it's in those moments when you might falter and have a misstep, but you're okay because you know that through time you've seen that your spouse has your back and they're able to help carry you. And now you're carrying each other. So hopefully this helps you in a way that reminds you that every now and then the other person is not going to be right there and you can't be upset about it. It's not a 50-50. It is 100-100, but sometimes it shows up as if you feel like you're carrying 70 to 80% of whatever it may be, and the other person's only contributing 20, when in reality, they're giving 100. But you're in a better position that your 100 is actually a little bit more substantial than the other person's 100. So I hope this helps. It's a short one, and I hope it's impactful for you. So on behalf of Snooks and myself, until the next time, be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Married Into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.